getting to know my mom a lot better, I guess, and hearing her stories from like Vietnam and how she got here was like crazy. I'm like, oh shit, you went through some shit. Her family like came here like broke, just like everyone else, but they had money in Vietnam. They had like a farm, and like my grandpa had like a whole hotel, and like he owned pretty much like the street, and he was like supporting everyone. When they lost the war, communism took over, and like pretty much your money's no good, so they left and started over in Virginia from nothing really, working janitor jobs, working like very, very low wage type of jobs, and then they worked their way up, which is very respectable. I don't know if I could do that. I mean, I probably could, but like I'm grateful that I don't have to go through that.
Victor Thai is one of the most interesting people I know. He's the son of Vietnamese refugees, growing up as one of the only Asian kids in Richmond, Virginia, where he lived, and still lives to this day. I met him 5 years ago, training Jiu-Jitsu at the same gym where we spent a lot of nights after class doing some extra rolls. He was a newcomer to San Francisco during that time, and he introduced me to one of my first psychedelic experiences. He grew his own plant medicine from home, stocks a variety of teas in his pantry, owns fancy teacups and tea sets, and is one of the most fluid and creative competitors I've had the chance to share the mat with. One time I found out that he accidentally took a book I brought with me to read on the Muni on the way to the gym, Meditations by Marcus Aurelius, because it was left outside of my backpack. He apologized for taking the book and quickly returned it with the quip, "I only took it because I thought, who the fuck would read that book from this gym?" And that's the kind of guy he is, and I admire that in him. He's blunt, he says what's on his mind, and seems to relish in the awkwardness that straightforwardness puts him in, which I feel is very rare these days. In this conversation, he shares his personal history. He talks about his long-term relationship with his then girlfriend and the unexpected turn their relationship took after driving across the country with her from Virginia. He also shares the impact of psychedelics on his life, how to embrace the comforts of solitude, and much, much more. This was a fun conversation hanging out in Tilden Park of Berkeley, California, in the Botanical Garden, just a few weeks before the end of winter.
People think that, or at least I thought, that like if you do mushrooms, you're going to turn into a completely different person afterwards and like become a hippie and all this stuff. But no, you go back to your normal life, man. It's just an experience, man. You go back to your normal life of being an asshole and having an ego, but like a mushroom just kind of gives you a peek and like a little peek of like, oh, there is another way of thinking and there is another way of looking at things. But it doesn't last like every single second of the day. That's something that you have to work on outside of taking an external substance,
Right.
you know, whether that be meditation or just like fucking traveling or whatever medium you want to go through. Like, it's not like I'm going to take a bunch of drugs and like be enlightened all the time. Mm-hmm. I gotta like do that on my own, sober.
Greetings and welcome to the Quake City Portal. It's a pleasure to introduce you to one of my good friends, a fellow Jiu-Jitsu practitioner, and how cliche is that? A guy here talking on a podcast that also does Jiu-Jitsu, a guy that genuinely gives much less fucks than I do, a guy who doesn't sniff his own farts, doesn't care what side anyone is on. I hope you enjoy this conversation with the tech shaman, conduit to the psychedelic world, my good friend, Victor Thai. I mean, I think we're 10 years.
Yeah, so I'm 30, you're like 40.
40,
so,
yeah.
Which I was
exactly
surprised, 10. Yeah, when I first met you, you said you were like 35 or some shit, I don't know, like 6. And
That's about right, yeah.
I was like, whoa, I thought you were like 29 or something.
Yeah, that's our Asian genes, and people will probably say the same shit to you when you're fucking 40 years old.
Yeah.
But
that's a good thing, I guess.
But yeah, man, what was life like growing up as an Asian dude in Richmond, Virginia?
So like Richmond, so there's like Richmond City, so that's like downtown area, and it's very it's like a it's where you go to work, and that's where you go to school, VCU, and all that stuff. And then I lived in the suburbs of Richmond, so it's like probably 10, 13 minutes away from downtown. Lived in like the white parts. It's like Richmond, Virginia is like just like black and white people, like in like a very small percentage of like Asian people.
Any Filipinos?
Yeah, there's a few. Obviously, not as much as the Bay Area. It's like when I moved out here, I'd never met so many Filipinos in my life. But yeah, growing up, let's see. I mean, it was just like I was like the only Asian kid really in class, and I was very aware of that, I guess, and self-conscious. And I kind of remember like, man, I wish I was white. I wish I was white just so I don't like stick out so much, and that I have like a nice normal white life.
Yeah.
But I'm eating like fucking pork belly and shit at home and like chicken feet, so I'm like, I want like hamburgers and shit, but not really, but it was fine. I was never really a popular kid. I was pretty quiet. I was a very nervous kid. I was a very ugly kid too, and just I guess people would call it these days like severe anxiety, but like
okay.
I'd never thought of it that way. I was just like kind of nervous all the time. Yeah.
Do you think that's where the straightforwardness comes from? Were you like that is that something that you developed while you were younger, or?
Yeah, that's always been my personality. Like I've always been kind of a jokester, like a joker, and like just love laughing and making people laugh, and like also just love being kind of an asshole sometimes.
Yeah.
In a not in like a mean way, but just like kind of in a dry humor type of way.
So even being the only Asian kid, like you were never bullied, you were never like the butt of, or was it just like everybody making fun of each other? Is that how it was for you?
Yeah, I guess like in the East Coast, like those days, I wouldn't say I was bullied. Like I've never been like, yeah, I've never felt like I was bullied at all. I felt like I was an outcast, but like never bullied. But I was probably an outcast just because I wasn't like an outgoing kid, and I just kept to myself, so I just felt like that. But no, I was never bullied. I ran into like situations where like, yeah, I experienced like racism, but it was like they're kids, like middle school. Middle school kids are like the worst.
Yeah.
Like that's like there's no filter. Like, people like call me all sorts of like names and stuff sometimes, but it wasn't like everyone. It was just like certain people at certain times. But I was like, whatever.
Yeah.
Sometimes I wish I was bullied, just so like I could fight, have an excuse to like fight someone.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just lived a boring life, so it's never happened.
But then your parents also have an interesting story too. Vietnamese by way of China, right? Or the reverse.
Yeah, so let's see. My parents are from Vietnam. Like technically my dad was like born in Cambodia because like his parents was there for some like business trip or something, and he was born there for some reason. And then I recently like talked to him like last year. I'm like, you were born in Cambodia, right? Like you were there for like a baby, right? And then you just went back to Vietnam. He's like, no, I was there since I was like 7.
Okay.
I was like, oh shit. So you kind of grew up in Cambodia. This is news to me. And then he went back to Vietnam, and then the Vietnam War happened, and then they had to leave, and obviously same thing with my mom. But they didn't meet there. They met in Virginia actually.
Oh wow.
Yeah, but yeah, Chinese descent. My great grandfather was from China, and then I think there's 2 generations in Vietnam, and then I'm the first generation in the United States. So, which is why my English is perfect. Right.
But you don't know any of your language.
I mean, I know enough where if so like my parents speak Cantonese. Okay. I mean, my dad speaks like 7 languages, but my mom speaks like 1. Which is Cantonese, and that's like that's our main language, I guess. If they're talking to me in Cantonese, I can like understand fully what they're saying.
Yeah.
I can't really speak extremely like fluently back.
Yeah.
But.
Wow. Okay.
But good enough to get around and like survive, I guess.
Yeah.
If I need to.
Interesting. Okay, so we're probably going to jump all over in this conversation because I'm just curious. Do you have like a need to connect with your, I guess, ancestral past?
I kind of do, yeah.
Yeah.
I kind of do, especially when I got older, and I guess in Asian culture, or like most cultures really, they don't keep records
Okay.
of like birth certificates and like all this shit, right? So it's really hard to track. So it's all word of mouth, and you know how reliable that shit is. And had a friend that was worked at Ancestry, like pretty high position there, and I was like, and he was like, I forgot what service Ancestry.com, like you
Okay.
could like pay for the service and like get your family history or whatever.
Okay.
And he was like, yeah, it's not good for Asians. I'm like, oh, okay. Because like, yeah, you know, it's good for white people, basically is what he said. I'm like, oh, yeah, that makes
Oh,
sense.
shit.
Cause like, you know, you can,
Yeah.
you know, you ask a white person, they can trace their whole family lineage to like Ireland, and like
Yeah, dude.
my father was on the Mayflower and all this shit. And I was like, that's cool.
Right.
I wish I had that knowledge about my family lineage, but I don't. So
I think the as deep as they go is like where your blood is from, or like they'll take, like, have you heard of that? The spit, 23andMe.
so I did. That's what I
Yeah.
did.
Okay.
I've done 23andMe, but I think Ancestry is like they actually give you like records of like
Traceable
like
relatives.
documents and stuff is what they're basing it out of. But 23andMe is like just genetics, and
Yeah.
that's how I figured out that I'm 90 something percent Chinese and like 10% or 9% Vietnamese. Yeah.
Wow. Though, so like you mentioned, wanting to be white, um,
Yeah, as a kid.
as a kid.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think
Wanted to fit in.
I've heard that a lot growing up, and then I've probably also just, you know, as a kid, you start seeing how people are different from you, and then you start seeing how different your life is from other people's lives. Is that something that you think about a lot now? And if so, how does it affect you?
Do I think about being different?
No, just like how that affected you as a kid.
Oh, like wanting to be something different
Or just
as a
holding
kid.
two ideas in your mind, I guess, if I can rephrase the question, like being, American and then whatever you are in the background. Because it's always like, hey, you are this, but then you're also this.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't like think about it too often, but as a kid, yeah, like you said, like there is like two things I have to like be normal and American, like around my peers, and then at home, you just you know live your life the way your mom forces you. But um, it was fine. Like I never had like it
Yeah.
never really affected me that much, I don't think.
Mhm.
And then like I knew when I was like getting a little bit older,
Mhm.
like around like middle school, there's this thing called like Asian Pride, which
Yeah,
sounds really
yeah,
really
yeah.
gay now,
Yeah.
but well, you're a kid and you're like, it's like AZN Pride,
Yeah, yeah,
and I'm
yeah.
like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
this is a thing I can get behind. I was like, yeah, Asian Pride, man. I
Yeah,
was like,
yeah.
fuck these white people, and yeah, that was a little phase, and but yeah, dude, I've always been a loner, to be
Mhm.
honest. Like, I never really had like a solid group of people that I hung out with in high school. I like more like a one-on-one, small group, intimate, like
Mhm.
time, instead of like these larger groups where everyone wants to talk and
Clicks.
like everyone wants to say something, and you don't really get to know anyone really.
Here's how I feel it plays out with Filipinos, at least
Mm.
people that I know, is that our parents were so focused on trying to put food and food on the table, roof over our heads, clothes on our back, keep us warm, and that's it. But anything else extracurricular, like being an athlete or enrolling into a jiu-jitsu academy at an early age, that's out the door. So everything that happens is during our later years when we're fully formed adults, and we have an awareness that uh, a job can only be so fulfilling. You know what I mean? And then you spend your whole life pursuing these things, and then you realize that, whoa, let's say, I don't know. I guess we'll just pick on white people for this conversation. Like,
these are the people that are out there climbing walls and living in vans and traveling the world with backpacks. And in my travels, I'm just like, whoa, this has been here the whole time, but yet nobody pointed us in this direction. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like even where we are now, Tilden National, or not national, but regional park, like this has been here the whole time. I've been here for 40 years in the Bay Area, but yet I only know it because I followed some person on Strava who's like a runner who happens to be white too.
Right. I mean, white people make everything better, right? I mean, that's why they exist. You know, they take over countries and they make it nicer. You know?
Right.
So this is what they did with this nice park.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you know, I don't buy into like the hate white people.
Oh no, I don't either, man.
Yeah.
I don't either.
I feel like we all should value each other despite.
White people are fun, are easy to make fun of because like they can't really say shit back, and you know, and I think all the immigrants just have like a grudge against them because like they want to be like them and like have that perfect life or whatever. But like no one really has a perfect life. Like they're going through their own shit too, and it's just what you got to realize. But I was going to say something, I forgot when you were talking, but yeah, white people, like you said, growing up in like an Asian household, you got to pretty much be. It's a cultural difference, right? And I knew that when I was growing up. White people are more like very individualistic, and like the parents usually encourage them to just do what they want to do.
Right.
And like Asians, they're like, yeah, just fucking read a book and study.
Yeah.
And like numbers matter.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because because like money is like a thing in Asian culture. Like they just care about how much money you make, basically.
Yeah.
They don't really, and your happiness is like second.
Mm-hmm.
You know. So, and like I didn't grow up that way, but my parents like didn't really give a fuck, to be honest. Like they weren't that strict. They were divorced, so it's not like they have life advice, but you know, I just kind of just did whatever I felt like, which is probably good and bad. Like I procrastinated a lot because I had all this time had no like discipline from my mom. Like she stopped hitting me when I was like in 6th grade.
Well, I mean, that's normal, right? Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. That's normal.
I don't know.
Could be late. Could be late too.
Could be early. Or I don't know. I guess that's normal, yeah.
Right.
I don't know. But I feel like if my parents had given me a little bit more like drive and discipline, and like giving me that head start of like, hey, let me introduce you to, I don't know, fucking like rock climbing or jiu-jitsu or like whatever. I don't know where my life would be at these days, but it doesn't really matter. Like I don't really think about it too much, but sometimes I do. But
I have a theory.
What?
I think it makes us more. It's made us more. I know industrious is the wrong word, but well, basically like entrepreneurial. You know, our parents came here as, you know, pretty much immigrants with fucking nothing, and I know my dad hated working for people, and on top of that, that's a fucking scary thing, to lose job security so that you could start a business of your own because you hate working for people. But the whole reason why you left your country is so you could make a better life for yourself, right? And so that's my theory, is that even though they never put those ideas in our head that like, hey, you can be a rock climber and fuck off and you know, never have to make money and just live a simple life, or you can, you know, make life the way you want it to be. You can either, you know, start your own business, or, I mean, that's what you were shown at a very young age, right? Like your uncle.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, my dad had his own business too. Like he was a car dealer, which is kind of like a used car dealer, salesperson, which is kind of why I kind of got into that whole car thing. But he had his own like car lot, and I thought he was like, I really liked my dad when I was younger. I thought he was like, you know, someone I aspired to be. But as I got older, I'm like, oh, he doesn't really have his shit together. Actually, now I'm taking care of him and buying him a house and shit. But but at the time, I mean, he was doing his own thing and like making money and supporting us and all that shit. And he was the guy that me and my brother would see on the weekend, because we would see him on the weekends, and then we would be with my mom during the week. And during the weekends, he would just spoil us, just take us out to Toys R Us and like fucking get toys and go to movie theaters and just eat out and stuff. And so he was a fun guy as a kid to be around with, compared to my mom, which she was like more the disciplinarian. But then that kind of flipped when I got older. I'm like, oh shit, my mom actually has her shit together, and like my dad doesn't. And getting to know my mom a lot better, I guess, and hearing her stories from like Vietnam and how she got here was like crazy. I'm like, oh shit, you went through some shit. Her family like came here like broke, just like everyone else, but they had money in Vietnam. They had like a farm, and like my grandpa had like a whole hotel, and like he owned pretty much like the street, and he was like supporting everyone. And then like when they lost the war, communism took over, and like pretty much your money's no good, so they left and started over in Virginia, and from nothing really.
Yeah.
Just working janitor jobs and like working like very, very like low wage type of jobs, and then they worked their way up, which is very respectful. I don't know if I could do that. I mean, I probably could, but like it's I'm grateful that I don't have to go through that.
Yeah, there you go. Yep.
So,
do you know what the history is? Like, I mean, I never really. All I know is the American side, right? Even before, only until up until I went to Vietnam did I actually see the perspective from the Vietnamese side, right? What was the kind of things that you were hearing from your parents? Because it sounds like the Vietnamese War was obviously a huge factor in moving here, right?
yeah.
Was there any stories?
I mean, yeah. I think my dad was. So he's a refugee. He was. His story was like and I haven't talked to him about this in a while, so I might be missing some stuff. But, basically he took a boat out of Vietnam to like some island, and then from there went to some country in Asia where they flew to the United States. I think he landed in like Wisconsin or something up north. It was like really cold, and he hated it. And then he had a choice between going to LA or going to Richmond, Virginia, because one of the refugees that he was with on the boat that he just met on the boat, moved to like LA, California. Okay. And like he had another like cousin or something in Virginia. And he's like he's trying to decide which one to go to, and he's like, all right, I just go to Virginia because it's just I know the guy better, I guess. I'm like, oh fuck, you fucked up, you should have gone to California. But whatever. And yeah, he told me like, yeah, they're starving on the boat. You see like babies dying, and like people like throwing them off the boat because like that kind of shit. My mom, separate, they're like 10 years apart, but like similar story. She tried to escape Vietnam several times, but like her dad wouldn't let her because you got to stay with the family. So she had a lot of opportunity to go other places in the world, like France, Germany, parts of Europe, or the United States. And she tried to escape when she was a teenager, like a couple times, but wasn't able to do it. And then, yeah, one day, just like the whole family just like left. I have like two aunts, two uncles, grandma, grandpa at that time, and then they all left together. My grandfather's brother was the first one to escape out of Vietnam, and like he went to Hong Kong and then like got arrested because he was like, escaping. And then he like I don't know what his story was, but like it was pretty crazy to get to the United States basically.
Fuck, yeah.
And then he sponsored everyone over here eventually, and that's kind of how I ended up in Virginia. Yeah.
So your mom and dad have similar stories in that sense, right? From fleeing.
Yeah, Vietnam. I think a lot of people in that time had very similar stories.
Okay,
yeah.
But the odds of them meeting in Virginia, though, was there a big Vietnamese community there?
I wouldn't say big, but there was enough. There was enough where
wow.
like people could, you know,
Yeah.
get married and, you know, breed and shit. You know, make more Vietnamese and Chinese people. You know how they do it.
So, whoa. Okay, so I'm just trying to get a sense because I'm very ignorant to this. So they're fleeing the war-torn environment. Is that what they're fleeing, or is it the government?
Oh, it's both. It's
Both.
both for sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Like I don't. I have to ask them again. Like when they came, I think my dad was here first, and then my mom came like maybe a few years later. This is like in the 80s. But yeah, like my dad had to change his last name. Like this is something I still don't understand. Like my last name's Thai, but originally like Chinese, it's Lao. And he had to change it to Thai because he wanted to like avoid getting drafted or some shit. I don't know how it worked, but they just picked a random name and like stuck with it.
Wow.
This is before I was born, so you know it's just so that's why my last name's Thai.
Yeah.
And my friend like the other day, you know, Jeff Hippon, our friend.
Yes.
Yeah, he like sent me this website where you type in your last name and it tells you like how common it is, the last name is, like rank wise in the world. Like if I put in like I don't know fucking what's a common like white person's last name, fucking
White.
yeah, Mr. White is probably going to be like the 5th like common last name. So mine was like the 300 or yeah, like 300,000 or something, which is like not that which is pretty common actually. I'm like, oh shit.
Yeah.
And then Jeff Hippon was like 1 millionth something common. I'm like, oh shit, you have a really uncommon last name. But anyways, that kind of surprised me. And then my mom, yeah, similar story. Like I think she left after they lost the war, after the United States lost the war. So Vietnam won the war, and then the communisms, the Viet Congs took over, and they're like, yeah, we got to get the fuck out of here, right now.
Interesting.
And I think my dad left like right before that happened.
Okay, I'm gonna have to educate myself on that again because I know Ho Chi Minh is very revered there, and I don't know if he's part of the conflict over there or whatever.
I'm pretty ignorant about this shit too.
Yeah.
Like it started getting interesting like when I got older, but like as a kid, I'm like, I don't fucking give a shit. It's like
I'm an American.
Yeah,
Mom.
I don't need to know about this shit. Yeah.
Wow, interesting. So, are you still unpacking all this stuff, or is it just like kind of like whatever? When I'm curious, I'm curious. When I'm not, I just don't give a fuck. You know.
I mean, I'm always like a very curious person, and I like diving to many different subject matters, and that's probably the problem. Like I can't. There's so many to choose from. Like. I don't know if I can like dedicate my whole week to just studying like the Vietnamese War or some shit.
Sure.
But you know, I'll like come back to it once in a while and you know get bits of information and all that stuff. But or sometimes I can just go on a rabbit hole if I just like want to dive into one subject, and then I just try to consume as much as possible on that one subject, and then I feel like if I have enough information, I'm done. For a while.
Yeah. You got to digest it.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have a question to ask you then, because I struggle with this sometimes too, is why does it matter? Why does it matter to find out all this? Why not just be like, hey, everybody's everybody, let's just fucking move forward and get over all these like hang-ups. And
why is it
like why does it matter
to learn about history?
To learn about your personal history.
I mean, like on the grand scheme of things, nothing matters because everyone's going to die very briefly here, and then you're going to be just another drop in the bucket. Just like everyone's going to forget who you are. You're going to forget everything you know. Like eventually, everything's going to that's nihilism. So, but I mean, since you're living here for a short time, I think it's good to learn about history, whether it's your personal history or just like general history, because I think most people, if they don't know anything about the past, like they're obviously like bound to repeat, and they just become more ignorant, I guess. You see a lot of that shit today. It's like people, history is like, it's an interesting thing because it's like, depending on who you ask, you kind of get a different perspective on like how things happen in history. But I think it's a good approach to just learn a little history about anything. It just makes something more interesting, and you appreciate something more. You know, it could be anything. Like, we're looking at this tree right now. It's like, okay, you can study the history of this tree by like cutting it down and like looking at the rings inside, and like each ring is like fucking, this is 5 years, 10 years, and like you can see the root system, you can see like what kind of environment it thrives in. You can do that with any subject, and it'll just make it a lot more interesting to it'll just make everything interesting, to be honest. Yeah. Just knowing the origins of anything.
Yeah, it enriches your interaction with the environment. I like that.
Yeah. I mean, like, have you heard of past life regression?
I have heard the term, yes.
So this is something I want to get into. Like, basically, everyone has a past life, and we can't remember it. So you go to like a hypnosis, and they like put you under hypnosis and like hypnotherapy or whatever, and then they try to get you to remember your past life.
Yep.
So I haven't had that experience yet, but it's something I'm interested in. And just imagine, because I've run into people that could remember their past lives, and if you look it up on YouTube or research it, like it's I believe it's a real thing. It's like pretty hard to fake, I guess, to just come up with this elaborate fucking story in detail about these people's interviews. But you know, it's like, if you could remember your entire past life, like even just one, I think that would make your current life more fulfilling and like more meaningful and purposeful.
Interesting.
But what if you can remember every fucking life you lived in the past, and that kind of makes up for who you are today? So, and like some of these past life interviews, like, you know, it could be like a child that's scared of dolls or something, you know, like just like freaking terrified of dolls for some reason. They just never figured out why.
Yeah.
And then they do like a past life regression. And then in the past life, like, she was some dude trapped in a house full of dolls that got on fire. And that was like the last thing they saw.
Oh,
and then that's why this current life, they're like afraid of that.
Wow.
Yeah. There's a lot of things like that. So I met this other guy too. He was very rational real estate dude, very business oriented. You know, he meets a lot of people, and he did like a past life regression with one of his students. And he's like, all right, this is kind of bullshit, but I'll do it, you know, because I'm just open-minded or whatever. And then he visualized or remembered that he was like some warrior in Mongolia in a war, and the way he died was he got struck in the eye.
Okay.
That was his last thing. And then he cried and all that stuff. And then he's like, oh my God, that's why my left eye has been fucked up, like, ever since I was like a kid till now.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Like visually, not like physically, but like, you know, his left eye was like a little bit, couldn't really see straight. But I'm like, oh, interesting.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the way to access this in your brain is,
you gotta just be under some hypnotherapy, like super crazy meditation type of thing. I mean, like, it's not, it's like anyone can do it, really. I think. So you carry some of the your past life's scar in your current life.
Yeah.
But we don't know that, obviously. Like, our memories get erased and we start a new life. You call that reincarnation or whatever, but yeah. You
believe in that reincarnation?
I didn't for a while when I was a kid, but like recently, as I gotten older, I'm like, yeah, I can see it. Because like, if I believe in past life regression, it's basically reincarnation.
Yes.
It's like pretty much the same thing. So I'm like, all right, I think I believe in it more these days. Yeah.
I have a recurring dream that I am out in the waves, and that a fucking tsunami is just coming at me. Do you ever have those dreams?
I never have recurring dreams.
Okay.
This is an actual dream you had more than like 2 times?
Oh, throughout my whole life.
Oh, throughout your whole life.
Throughout my whole life.
Interesting.
And whenever I'm in the water, the open water, which I venture out to quite often, like, I'm fucking terrified. You know?
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So whenever I'm swimming with a partner, if my partner gets out like too far, maybe just like 25, 50 yards, and we're so far away from shore, I feel like the need, you know, the fight or flight?
Yeah.
Complete flight, dude. Like, I'm redlining just to try to get back to shore.
Right.
Like, this feeling will just overwhelm me where I'm just like, I gotta get the fuck out of here. And several times I'm just like, I'm gonna fucking die. I can't breathe. The waves are like crashing over my head, and I'm just like, oh my God. And then, okay, I need to relax.
Yep. So that's probably something Like if I was like all spiritual, like something with your past life, like you probably drowned and died in the waters sometime in your past life.
I think so.
And that's why you have that fear. Because did you have a fear as a child of like you almost drowning or anything, or?
Not until I became, not until I ventured out into the water again did I have these recurring dreams.
I mean, like, did you have an incident in your life where that you almost died in the water?
Not that I can remember.
Okay, so this is just like okay, you're just scared, and you don't really know why.
And I don't know why. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's because you're a huge pussy. I mean.
Yeah. I mean, you know, I've been called that before.
Yeah, and it won't be the last time.
But yeah, there's that, and then there's also here's another one that might make you call me that again. I've murdered people in my dreams.
Okay, that's always fun.
More than a handful of times. This is a recurring dream. And then the dream is always like, I'm hiding the body. That's the whole dream.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
And then maybe three times, it's been my dad.
It's been your dad?
Yeah.
Holy shit. It just it went dark to darker. I'm like, I like where this is going. And then you're like, oh, this is my dad. Okay.
Okay, but let me just preface this because I've said, you know, people have let me know on the podcast that I mention my dad a lot. He is a very loving person. You know, we don't have a great relationship, but it's not a bad relationship. He has never like been abusive or anything like that. So
yeah, no, even if he was, you probably wouldn't even think about killing him.
No,
yeah,
never,
you're just not that kind of guy. But that's interesting that you think about that stuff. So it could be something. You should try that. I think it'll be good for you.
I know, right?
Past life regression, yeah.
I know now that you talk about it. What the fuck?
You should seek it out.
It just sounds so woo-woo, dude.
It does. It does. It sounds woo-woo, but like, you know, a lot of shit is, dude.
Yeah.
Like we all have a computer in our pockets and shit. Like life is nuts.
Yeah.
Life is fucking nuts.
Are you a horoscope person? Do you believe in that?
I always had an interest in horoscope. Yeah, like the Chinese zodiac, the astrology stuff. Like there's a Native American zodiac horoscope thing. And yeah, I've always took an interest in that. But I never like dove like too deep until I guess like as an adult when I was like starting to date.
Yeah.
After a long-term relationship, like it'll be easier for me to, I guess, like if I was into a girl, I'll kind of like figure out what her sign was,
right? Just
to get more information about the person, like their personality, quote unquote, just to get a general sense of how they are and like if I'm compatible with them and all this shit. And then that kind of, like the way that, I don't know, people that write these horoscopes are like actually really good writers. I'm like, oh, this is like really good. Like the way they describe personalities and traits and all this stuff. That's also what I appreciate about it.
Yeah. It's entertaining.
But yeah, I'm pretty good with like guessing people's, like when's your birthday?
If you were to guess, like sign, astrology sign. You're good at guessing, right? You were about to say that.
Well, no, I was gonna say, okay, like I'm not like that good. Even though I went on a date a couple days ago and like with this girl, and I immediately said like, you're probably a Libra, right? And she's like, yeah.
Okay.
I'm like, oh shit.
Oh damn.
It worked.
Yeah.
And I am too. So it takes one to know one, I guess. But if you give me your birthday, I might be able to guess your sign.
Oh, okay, that's easy.
Yeah. You feel like a sign that like I don't really study at all.
Okay.
Like a Capricorn or some shit.
Capricorn?
Or some shit like that, yeah.
Cancer.
Oh no, you're supposed to give me you're supposed to give me the
No, that's so easy though. You would have known.
Cancer, you're like born in June or your birthday's in June or June, or is it June or July?
Late July.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. See?
Supposedly I'm on like the cusp of Cancer and
Leo. Yeah.
Yeah. So you don't study that too much?
I study the signs that like that relate to me. Like if I'm seeing a girl and she's a Gemini, I'm like, okay, I'll just read up on Gemini. Like I haven't really found an interest in. My mom's a Cancer, but that's how I do it. But
yeah,
I just like look at a sign if it relates to my life at this time.
Yeah.
I'll read about it.
Libra's the scales, right?
It is. It's the only sign that's it's an inanimate object. So it's not an animal or a human. It's just like a fucking thing.
Oh wow, my mom's a Libra.
Cool,
Yeah,
nice.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah,
October
yeah.
or September Libra?
September,
Okay, cool.
early September, September 4. Yeah,
I think she might. No, she's a Virgo.
Virgo.
If
That's
she's
Virgo. Then.
yeah,
Oh yeah.
yeah.
That's
See,
Virgo.
I'm good.
Yeah. Oh shit. I don't know nothing about Virgos.
See, I know your mom's sign better than you.
I'm gonna take a piss really quick.
All right, take a pause.
Yeah.
You know,
The big way.
it's the Vic Jitsu way. If I open up a gym, it's gonna be called Big Jitsu
Don't
or Taijitsu.
don't corrupt people.
I love corrupting people. I love waking people up from the Matrix.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I think the last time we talked, I remember you were like, I was like, we said something about offending people, and then you said you hope you offend people. Oh,
Did I say that?
Wait.
I don't know if I said that.
Yeah, okay, you didn't say that.
Or maybe I did.
Yeah.
Maybe I did in a half joking way.
Okay. So half joking way.
Yeah. Like not in a bad way, like, you know, but like offend people as in like try to get them to think different, maybe.
Yeah, antagonize people.
Yeah, you know, it's like Socrates, you know, he's the inquisitive guy who's always like, why?
Yeah.
I mean, he got put to death for that eventually, but like,
Right.
you know, the Socratic method.
Yeah. Did you study that a lot when you were younger? Or
Fuck
now?
no. I was a fucking. I mean, no, I didn't study shit when I was younger. All this stuff became interesting to me, like when. I guess it's always become interesting, but like actually interesting when I actually had to be alone by myself as an adult, which was like 27. Because like I was in a long-term relationship with this one person for like 9 years. And, you know, when that ended, like, I didn't know who the fuck I was, really. Like, it just became, like, I'm like, oh, my God. I mean, it's a dark moment in my life, and I had to go through that dark period of loneliness and suicidal thoughts all the time. But, you know, I made it through, and, like, I'm like, cool. Philosophy's cool. I got to pick up new hobbies now.
Yeah,
I got to, like, study other stuff and occupy my time with something else.
So your ex-lady came to San Francisco with you at 22?
Yeah, so going back to the like the car dealership story, you know, when I left, I didn't really have a plan. Like I didn't have another job lined up. I just like left. I'm like, fuck this place. Like I'm miserable. So my ex, she applied to a job at UC Berkeley, and she was graduated already, so she was just applying for a job, and she got accepted obviously, and then she was like, yeah, you want to move out with me and all that. I'm like, oh, of course. You know, at the time we're dating for 5 years. So I had like a month and a half to like just pack up all my shit in Virginia and like sell everything. So I tried to sell as much stuff as I could. And then we drove out from Virginia to California. Took 7 days and, you know, stopped at a few places along the way, like, you know, Zion National Park and Grand Canyon and all this stuff. And that was my second cross-country road trip of that year, because I had another friend before that moved out to San Francisco, and I helped him drive, and then I flew back, and then this time, like a few months later, I was like the one driving and like living there.
Yeah.
But anyways, we got here, and it was just kind of weird, like kind of a weird feeling in the car, like a feeling of like going into the unknown, basically. Right? We're kids. We're 22, and we just left everything that we knew behind to go to the most expensive place to live in the fucking United States, right? Go figure. And yeah, we got there, and like she decided it's best if we like live separately. We got an Airbnb for a month, and then that was another like hit to my self-esteem, because I think like she was like, yeah, you don't really have your shit together right now, and you got to figure it out. And I don't know if living with you is going to be stable for me, you know. So even though it's like, okay, well, great. I thought we're going to do this together, but I guess not.
Yeah.
And then obviously like she like was regretful about that, you know, later, but that's something that I was like very bitter about for years. I just kept it to myself though, because I'm such a nice guy. But anyways, that actually kind of forced me to like live or I just like make it on my own.
Mm.
So she got her own place. So we got an Airbnb in Oakland for 1 month. We lived in like this attic with like 2 other people downstairs. It was just like not a great place. And in 2 weeks she found an apartment in Berkeley, and then I decided to go to San Francisco to just to live. So that's how I met Jeff, our mutual buddy.
Yeah.
He was renting out his Airbnb for the first time, and I was his first guest. And I just found the cheapest Airbnb I could in the shittiest neighborhood, and I did. And I moved over there, stayed there for a month, and the plan was to just find a job, or stay there as long as possible to find a job so I can like get an apartment or something, because I can't just get an apartment because I have like no work history, right? So I actually ended up staying in Jeff's place for 4 months.
Yeah.
As an Airbnb. So I'm like paying them through Airbnb through a credit card like every month for like $1,000 something. And then I finally find a job like 4 or 5 months later at a company called Yelp, and paying shit fucking wage, and especially in the Bay Area.
As a salesman? Is that what you started?
Account executive.
Yep.
Fancy name for like, cold calling sales dude, right? So I was like, fuck it, man. I'm grateful to have a job, because right now I'm starting to like run out of money.
Yeah.
I brought like $13,000 with me when I moved out, and that was starting to like, dwindle. I was like down to my last like few $1,000s. So I'm like, I need to find a job right now, or I'm like driving back home.
Yeah.
This is 2014, 15.
When we met.
Yeah,
I think around that time, yeah.
And so I worked at Yelp. I got the job there, paying shit salary. Like even if I got that job in Virginia, it's like still a shit salary.
Yeah.
And I'm in the Bay Area, right? It was like $5,000 a month, but you get, or a year, but then you get your commission, which was fucking hard to get. But I was grateful. It's a stepping stone. So you got to start somewhere. And I started there. I was really enthusiastic about it. They do a 60-day training, and then that's when they assign you your territory. So what you're doing at Yelp is calling business owners, small business owners, by the way, that don't know shit about anything, especially computers and the internet. And they hate Yelp, by the way. They fucking hate Yelp.
Yeah, fuck Yelp.
And I'm like the 5th sales guy in that territory to call them, right? And they're like, you're getting yelled at. You're making 80 to 100 cold calls a day. You're trying to sell them ad space on Yelp, trying to make their business appear on the top search, and they're paying like $5 a click or like $10 a click, whatever it is, whatever industry they're in. And so I had to deal with that a lot. And they give you your territories during training, and it's all quote unquote random, but I didn't see it that way, because like the surfer guy got like San Diego, and like the guy from Compton got like Compton, the East Coast dude got East Coast. It's like, okay, this is random. And then I was just like in school, I was like the only Asian kid there. There's another Asian kid there, actually. He was Indonesian. So guess what I got? I got Koreatown, LA.
Wow.
And then the other Asian guy got Vietnamese territory in San Jose. I'm like, yeah, it's very random. Not that I don't speak Korean, and the other guy is fucking Indonesian, so he's not speaking Vietnamese to these. Yeah. And like Koreatown is the largest population of Koreans outside of Korea in the world. There's a lot of Koreans there. So you can not speak English and live in Koreatown your whole life and like do fine.
Yep.
Right? So that's what I got, and didn't sell shit. I sold like one thing, and then they like quit like after several months, but and I was like, and then eventually that changed when I got like a new manager, but yeah, worked there for a year and a half, miserable, just fucking like one day I just quit cold turkey, just quit without anything lined up again, and then like I took a 9-month like sabbatical, I guess, and I was trying to do my own thing and traveled a little bit, and then same story, starting to run out of money, and then I found like another sales job, which is a lot better. I've been there ever since, like 5 years. More chill, more money, just more professional. You're not talking all day, so it's been good. Yeah. Like 3 months into that lease, we kind of break it off, just because she was starting to see someone else who was a girl, so she came out of the closet basically, and I didn't know what to do about that.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, well, I mean, I can't really help in this situation.
Right.
I'm not going to get a sex change or whatever.
Yeah.
So that's how it started. I don't know what your original question was, but Just rambled on.
No, that's fine. I don't know what my original question was either. I think I was just trying to get a sense of like, what your situation was over here in San Francisco. You kept getting curveballs since you got here.
Yeah, definitely. Weird stuff has happened in my life since I got here. So I think that's just like the Bay Area. It just makes you into a kind of a different person. Not for everyone, but like, for some people. Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
You have to conform to the hive mind of the Bay Area.
There you go, Vic Jitsu.
Or you will be an outcast.
Vic Jitsu fungi knowledge right there.
Yeah, which I'm used to, but...
Damn. Okay.
Yeah.
But then you made it.
Yeah, I made it. So San Francisco was like... So that was like a proud moment in my life because, I was in my early 20s, and I made it. I felt like I made it once I got my own job and my own place and all that stuff. Like, I made it in this really hard to make city. It's fucking expensive.
Yeah.
And I made it, and it felt like my city.
Yeah.
I felt like, damn, I made it. I made it on my own, no help. And, it'll always be a second home to me. I love the Bay Area, and I love San Francisco. And it has its problems, but it's beautiful,
Mm-hmm. Fuck. Going back to, and are you okay with talking with this? You don't have to answer these questions, but I'm just kind of curious.
I'm okay with talking about anything.
Yeah, all right. That's what I love about you.
It's about you, man.
Yeah.
If you're okay to talk about it.
All right.
On your PG-13 podcast.
Yeah. No. Did you sense at all if that was where it was going to go between you and your ex?
Not at all. That was a out of nowhere, like, took me by surprise, speechless type of moment. Yeah. I was actually like so we're dating for 9 years and 3 months at that time, and then on the 10th year I was gonna propose. I'm like, all right, it's time to get married and start a family and all that stuff. And we were actually like, I remember one day, like a year before this, or not even less than a year before this, like us like planning out our lives, like, okay, this is what we're going to do when we're 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. We're going to have kids at 32, and we're going to get married at like 28 and all that stuff, and have a timeline. So to hear her say like, hey, I'm like, I think I'm bi, I think I'm gay, I'm like, okay, well, that's like a huge wrench in the gears.
Mm-hmm.
And I told her like, hey, she wanted to go. She likes to plan trips and stuff, so she wanted to go to Antarctica. I'm like, in my head, I'm like, no, we got to go to Africa because that's where I'm going to do my proposal.
Oh, okay.
Because she loves animals and she always wanted to go to the safaris, and I was going to like set something up where it's like a really nice proposal involving some kind of animal.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, that was all going through my head, and I'm like, okay, well, my life is now going to be a lot different. And I thought it was a phase, which it wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, that was like a really dark time in my life, just because like I was just so used to living one way with this one person for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And not only that, but when you have that long relationship with someone at a certain time of your life,
yeah,
it really affects you, because she was there for all the pivotal moments of my life, like graduating college, graduating high school, getting my first job, getting my first real job, first time doing mushrooms. And, she's there for like a lot of things, like first time doing jiu-jitsu and all this stuff. Right. So to have that all gone, it's like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Now you're just left with yourself. And it took me like a while. It took me like 3 years to get over that. Yeah. To get like truly comfortable with, just like being by yourself and like just like loving yourself, and not putting so much like emotion into something else or someone else. So
wow,
yeah,
that's right.
And I didn't like, to be honest, like after that, I didn't really know who I was. It sounds like kind of like a cliche. You have to love yourself and all that shit and find yourself, but it's like, it's true. Like I did not really. I couldn't even tell you, like, I couldn't even describe myself. Like, if you asked me 5 years ago, or if I could, it would be kind of fake. I don't know. So yeah, and that's how I got into like more. I was studying philosophy, like Stoicism and Buddhism, and like
I remember that.
getting into that and trying to like Like, why am I suffering? It's like suffering is like comes from desire, and if you don't desire, you end suffering. But that's also hard. But you just have to like remember that, not to cling on to things. The more you cling on to things and attach to things, it's like the harder you're going to suffer, because everything is going to end eventually. Everything is temporary. So if you understand that, then you can live in the moment. You can like appreciate things for what they are, and like at the time, like me and you might not be friends like 10 years from now, or you might die, or I might die. So we're like, I'm just enjoying this moment with you, because it's just like a little blip in the timeline of like, okay, this is the moment where I gave it my 100% with this guy or this girl, and that's all you can do. Yeah, so that's what I kind of learned throughout the journey of the bachelor life, So, and now I'm getting kind of fucking old.
You're still young, man. You're kind of in your prime still.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah. I think you got like a little bit, like about 5 years max. Physical prime. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah,
It's like an
maybe.
athletic prime.
Yeah, maybe.
You know, where your mind and body are like sound. I mean, your mind will always grow, but I feel physically, man, fuck that. I mean, physically you'll always
like,
be at your peak for your age. But I'm saying, as youth goes, you're in your prime.
Sure. Yeah. Starting to get there.
I guess that's.
It's like you're 30. Like, you don't lose your prime until like, for men at least, until like you're 40 something, right?
No. If we're talking about, I'm just looking at it from like an athletic.
Oh, like a biological standpoint.
Biological standpoint, yeah. I guess men are always, or people in general are always, not always, are physically capable of performing at a high level up until ... age. And I think the common age is like 35.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's when you're starting to become like a deteriorated athlete professionally, if we're talking professional athlete wise. But
well,
I mean, that's figurative.
I don't have to worry about that shit. I mean,
no.
I do Jiu-Jitsu.
Yeah.
And like there's a lot of old people that do Jiu-Jitsu that are like in great shape, and
yeah.
And
but
I'm gonna continue on with that.
Yeah, man. So I mean, you said she was around for your first mushroom experience, right? When was that?
That was 2011 when I was 19.
Whoa.
Yeah.
So back in Virginia.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
How did you get into that? Who gave you your first? Who opened the door for you?
Well, I gave myself my first dose because I grew my own mushrooms because I couldn't really get it anywhere else. Yeah. So that's how it started, which was kind of crazy. I mean, like, I guess it's not that common when I tell people. They're like surprised because usually you just get it from someone, right? Yeah. But at that time I was like starting to become just curious about other things, and I was actually pretty scared to do mushrooms. I mean, everyone is really, like, especially your first time, because I didn't want it to lose my mind and like become a different person and stuff, and which doesn't fucking happen. So anyways, I just grew my mushrooms. I like went online to figure out how to do it, and long story short, I eventually had success, and then grew my own mushrooms, and then had a friend do it with me, and we just ate it. We just ate the mushrooms. Like I dried it and then like ate it, and then my ex was the one like trip sitting us, right? So me and my buddy were just at my house, and we took it, and then like an hour later, we started to feel, lighter and like heavy body, and like get that body high, and you're just laying on the floor and just kind of geeking out on stuff. And then my ex drove us to a park nearby, and then we just kind of just chilled there for a bit. And I was just kind of taking it all in. I wasn't like freaking out or anything. I was like, oh, this is interesting, and then we went back home, and then my mom got home from like work, I think. And just like sitting at the dinner table with everyone, my mom, we're just talking, and I'm like tripping at this point, right? And then she's saying some stuff. I don't know what she's saying, but she's just talking, and then I start to laugh. I start to just like geek out uncontrollably, because like what I'm hearing is like because she has like a bit of she has an accent,
Uh-huh.
you know, and it's all Fabian shit, and like I'm laughing at that,
Yeah.
and she knew something was up, but she doesn't know what mushrooms are or like weed is, or you know what it does to you. But she, you know, she's like, "Are you on drugs?" I'm like, "No, no, 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 no." And then let's see, and then all of a sudden, like the electricity goes out of my house, so it's all dark now. And my mom's like pissed at me for some reason, like thinking I'm the cause for the outage. But I think the whole neighborhood didn't have power. So, but you know, you gotta remember, I'm tripping at this point. I'm like, oh shit, did I actually do this? Because I was growing mushrooms and like it requires light and stuff. I'm like, oh my god, did I actually cause this? I'm like kind of freaking out a little bit because she's yelling at me, and now like we don't have any power, and like I don't know what to do. So we got out of the house and we went to go see a movie. Go to the movie theater with my friend and my ex. I forgot what movie we saw. It's like a comedy. But I just remember during the trailers of the movie, it was extremely, I was like cracking up. Like I was cracking up like it was like I was watching a comedy special or something. But these were like serious like action film trailers.
Yeah.
Because because I guess in my mind it seemed very fake.
Yeah.
Like it's like overproduced fake, like bad acting.
Right.
But if I was sober, I would be like, oh, this is a cool movie. Like it was a cool trailer. But like when I'm tripping, I'm like, oh my god, I was like geeking out uncontrollably. Like so much so like I had to step out of the movie theater for a little bit because I was like causing it. I don't think I was causing a scene, but like I might have. But yeah. Anyways, that was my first trip, and then it kind of died down during the movie, and then we went back home and I wrote about it. Yeah.
So you've been writing about your trip since that very first time.
Yep. So I try to record journal all of my trips, and I still do. So I have like a log of like, I don't know, 40 or 50 trips that I've done throughout the decade.
Wow.
Yeah. And I try to get like whatever kind of insight I can. Oh, this is like the very beginning when I was like trying to be all like scientific and all this shit. I used to physically have a journal, like, and I would write it on paper.
Okay.
Right. And then that kind of got a little bit too much, where I'm like, okay, this is like not, I don't want to bring this all over the place. So I just wrote it on my computer. I just use Evernote. So it's always with me. And then I try to take a picture of something during the trip and then put that in the journal entry. And then I'll have like the trip number, the age I've done it, the group I'm doing it with, the what I'm taking, and then like a paragraph of like, or not like more than a paragraph, like, you know, just some words about like what the trip was about. And then at the end I'll have some like key takeaways or insights, basically like the highlight of the trip. If I learned anything, I'll just write it there in that section. And that's just how I structured it. Yeah.
What was the inspiration to grow your own, besides wanting, I mean, obviously there's something that really compelled you to try these mushrooms out. And to grow, that's a whole nother step. Because it's easy to just be like, hey, ask around. I don't know. I've never done it. Because you were the first one to give me my first dose, right?
Yeah.
But I would imagine that that's a pretty heavy, like a heavy inkling to try these mushrooms, right?
Yeah, I don't know what compelled me. I mean, like, I think I had a friend that I didn't know too well, or like we didn't talk. Like we talked a little bit during high school, but then we like stopped. And then she's like, "Yeah, you want to try some mushrooms?" But I didn't like trust her mushrooms for some reason. So I didn't know where it came from. Like I don't know. And like at that time, I didn't do any like drugs or anything. And then I rejected that offer. And then I was like listening. I think I was like listening at the time to someone like Joe Rogan.
Okay.
And he just started a podcast called The Joe Rogan Experience, which is like the biggest podcast now, around 2010, 11. Just doing it from a laptop. And he was like talking about DMT and mushrooms and like all the psychedelic experience and stuff, and which kind of got my brain thinking like in a different way about it. I was like, oh, okay, well, he's making it seem like it's not as bad as like other people say, like the propaganda around it. so that kind of gave me a little bit of an encouragement to try it, to be more open to it. And then I just started doing more research on it, and seeing what other people's experiences were like. And then I'm like, okay, well, let me just like try to grow up my own and see how that goes. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Then if it does, then cool, I'll do it. Yeah, and then that just kind of turned into a hobby for a little bit. But I don't trip that much. Like, people think I trip all the time, but I don't. I do everything in my life like moderately. So at the time, even like today, I'll probably take a trip maybe like once a quarter. Maybe like these days, not so much. Like maybe once or twice a year at the most. But before, it's like maybe 3-4 times a year. So it wasn't much at all. But
wow,
yeah,
shit. Kids these days growing their own mushrooms.
I mean,
what the hell?
These days it's so easy.
Yeah,
you got all the resources like everywhere.
Right.
Yeah.
Any immediate long-term effects that you could speak of? Let's start with immediate. What did you notice?
Immediate?
Yeah, because you eventually came back to it. You kept going, exploring these psychedelic realms, man. What did you see? What did you feel? What kept you coming back?
Man, like mushrooms, like the experience of just any psychedelic experience is pretty hard to describe, because like most people, I think that you're going to see, like, you're going to hallucinate basically and see like Mickey Mouse and dragons and shit. But it's rarely the case, if ever. I've never even met anyone that's seen that shit. And maybe when you close your eyes, you see stuff, but like not in front of you. So there's a lot of like stigma, like these days it's getting more accepted, and there's more research, that's being done into psychedelic mushrooms and just psychedelics in general. Because, just like even 10 years ago, it was very like no taboo. It was, I did like a research paper in college about like mushrooms and stuff, because they make you do a topic on anything you want. I'm like, I'm just gonna do it on mushrooms. So I like kind of researched it a little bit more, and figured out some of the history behind it. But
this was after your first trip.
Yeah. This is probably 2012 or something. Around 2012, 11, 12. Yeah. So I had already done mushrooms at that time. I'm like, all right. If you're going to force me to write something, I'm just going to like do something I'm kind of interested in. So, but it's been a part of like human history for thousands of years.
Yep.
So it's nothing new. And fungi itself has been around for so long. It's been around before plants. It was before trees. Was just fungus. So it's a very, very ancient organism, and I think it's still relatively unexplored. And there's so much medicine coming out of like just mushrooms and fungus. Penicillin was like from fungus, right? So, and that saved millions of lives or whatever. So they have a medicinal use, and there's so much variety of mushrooms, like I think hundreds or thousands of like, and there's stuff that we haven't even discovered yet. So all of that stuff, mycology is what they call it, study of mushrooms, was very interesting to me. But the immediate effects are just, in the moment, you're very grateful. You're seeing life through a different perspective. You, when I was tripping the first few times, or like my early days, visually, I would see, the typical waviness. I would see like kind of like the geometric pattern on things. I would see all that stuff, which is fun. That's not what tripping is about, but like it's fun. But I don't really see that stuff anymore as I gotten older. But it's more about the feeling you have. It's like, damn, I feel grateful. I can feel more empathetic towards people. You're gonna cry probably because it's like too many emotions. It's a spider web of emotions, or like thoughts too. It's not like they're not all organized. Like, I'm gonna think about this thing for like 5 hours. It's like, okay, I'm going to think about like A, B, C, D, E, F, G, my mom, my dad, my friends, my life, this, that. It's like all at once, and for me, at least, the thoughts are very like slippery. I can't really grasp on a topic for too long before I think about something else. You know what I mean? So, so my first few times I was doing it with like people, my brother, my friend, and then eventually I just started tripping by myself, which I found more insightful, I guess. Because you can there's no distractions. and you don't have to like worry about anyone
Mm-hmm.
except for yourself. So yeah, long-term effects, I don't know, man. Like, it's hard to say. Like, people think that, or at least I thought that, like, if you do mushrooms, you're going to turn into a completely different person afterwards and like become a hippie and all this stuff. But no, you go back to your normal life, man. It's just an experience, man. You go back to your normal life of being an asshole and having an ego, but like a mushroom just kind of gives you a peek and like a little peek of like, oh, there is another way of thinking and there is another way of looking at things. But it doesn't last like every single second of the day. That's something that you have to work on outside of taking an external substance.
Right. Good
You know,
point.
whether that be meditation or just like fucking traveling or whatever medium you want to go through. Like, it's not like I'm going to take a bunch of drugs and like be enlightened all the time. I gotta like do that on my own, sober. Yeah.
Wow, that's a very mature perspective, Vic.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm not going to be like drug induced all the time, like to like be nice.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
you know.
yeah.
But it does help. It's just a shortcut. It's just a shortcut of seeing like things in a different perspective. Like, you can never do mushrooms in your life and like totally be like a good person. You know, not saying like everyone that does mushroom is a good person. Like, I know some assholes that do mushrooms, you know, including myself. But but it's just a shortcut of just seeing life in a different perspective.
Yeah.
Without having to go through like 60 years of life.
Yeah. Interesting. So, no long-term effects. If you're still an asshole, you're going to be an asshole despite mushrooms. Not one thing it changed about you that you could like look back on?
Oh no, I mean, like, I'm sure it changed, like, I'm sure it changed something, but like, it's not, I can't really say I am this way because of my mushroom trip. You know what I mean?
Okay.
I can't really say like, hey, I am really nice because of my mushroom trip.
Okay.
Like, I guess I can say like, hey, I've done mushrooms and I know what altered states of mind feel like because I've done it.
Yeah.
But I can't really say like, can you point to one thing?
I have a theory, but
Okay.
you know, what the fuck does my theory mean or matter? So here's my thing. Whenever I hear like somebody who's heavily into mushrooms, like you or somebody like Ram Dass or Terrence McKenna, anybody that I know, even personally, there's this kind of sense that the ideas and boundaries have kind of blurred, where those things don't matter anymore. The things that divide everybody, the things that people hold on to that divide people, even like your own thoughts that divide you from other people, are kind of like blurred. And it's easy for you because maybe you felt this profound thing, whether it's through mushrooms or maybe your own self-work, but your own ego is just, you've had that feeling of the dissolution, right? There's that feeling of,
Yeah, I
like,
have.
there's just nothingness. I am nothing. And so it's easy for you to call yourself out on your own bullshit as well as other people, because you've also called yourself out on your own bullshit. You know, and that's what I got in the discussion that we had last week. If you remember,
Oh yeah.
you also gave perspectives that were in my favor, but you also gave perspectives that were in my partner's favor. You know what I mean? It was just like you weren't looking at it any one side. It's like, hey, you know what? You're right, but here you're also an asshole too. You know what I'm saying?
And like, I'm pretty sure you appreciate that because,
oh, for sure,
like, I'm the type of guy that looks at both perspectives all the time.
right?
And that could be attributed because I'm a Libra and all that shit. But like, I just naturally do it.
Yeah.
Like, because I've been in that situation where I was accused of like shit that I didn't do, and like it just like, and I hate that shit. You know, I hate when it's like you get accused for something you didn't do, and like, you know, you didn't do this, but like people think you did, and like that pisses me off. Especially if you're innocent, but no one gives a shit because like you're guilty until proven innocent, and even if you are proven innocent, like you're still fucking guilty. Because like, you know, that's just how most people think. They don't understand that there is another side of seeing things. So I always like take that perspective, even if you're my friend, my brother, like anyone, and I'll tell you like what I truly think. Yeah, I'm not gonna like blow smoke up your ass. because that's like not honest.
Yeah.
And that's why I gave you like, I saw like, you know, your wife's perspective, your perspective on things, and yeah, I just said what's on my mind, you know.
And how long have you shared these creations with mushrooms with other people? When did that start happening?
Like when did I start giving medicine to people?
It's just like, I don't even remember how. I think maybe you and I talked about it once, and then you were like, hey, you want to try this or whatever.
Oh, okay.
And then, you know, I'm just coming at it from a perspective of like, since I had that, because you grew it, I don't think I would have ever met anybody else. Maybe I would have, maybe not, but that's how I met the actual plant, and it's just changed my whole perspective on things. And I see that it's a big part of who you are too. I mean, you wear it. I mean, both you and I wear it, but you, of course, like, you got it on your clothes, on your hat, you got patches.
I wear it very subtly, but like most people don't even notice it,
yes.
or they don't connect it to. But yeah, I don't know, man. Like I'll bring up like, because it is like, if you're a cool dude and I can sense it, I'll be like, yeah, you know. I'll tell you, and you like try to get to know me. I'm like, yeah, you know, when I'll tell a story like, yeah, you know, I was tripping on mushrooms one day, and then yada yada yada, and then if that like incites some interest in that person, like, oh, you done mushrooms? How's that like? You know, and then I'm like, okay, cool. So you're kind of interested and curious on the experience, and then if I like you, you know, I'll give you some mushrooms to try. But it's just sensing it out. Like you know, if you're kind of like really conservative, uptight, I'm probably not gonna like talk about that too much.
Yeah.
Not that like not because of fear of judgment, just because it's like a useless topic for that person. But
right.
But yeah, you were a cool dude. I knew you were like pretty chill and open-minded, I guess, to stuff. And
thanks, man.
I'm like, yeah, man, you should try some of this shit.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, I'm just trying to, I guess, how do I say this? People that are associated with the mushroom, I guess there are people that fit into that hippie archetype, right? And then fine, good for you if you are. But I've noticed most people aren't, at least on the outward side. But intrinsically, though, has it opened up like, because, okay, I'll tell you what it did for me. It just made me feel that there's just a connection between people and every living thing, or just everything in general, right? Do you feel that it's woken that part of you, you know, your perspective on things? Or do you kind of just like, nah, that's fucking bullshit?
No, definitely when you're having the psychedelic experience, you feel that, and like you actually feel it. It's not like a thought, it's not like a theory, it's like, okay, you actually feel like everything's connected. You feel like this rock is like a part of like my life, and like it's a part of like, it's the reason why this ant can survive, because it's building a house with that rock, and you know, everything's like has a purpose. And when you're tripping, like you actually feel that, and when you're sober, it's more like a thought, especially like when you're younger. But I can't really attribute that to like mushrooms, even though I felt it on mushrooms. I think I attribute it to when I got older, like I started to like just think more deeply about life and how everything is like dependent on each other. And that's when I realized like, yeah, everything is connected. Like there is no good or bad. There is no like, you know, a fire happens in California. It's like, okay, that's natural, you know,
right.
And that actually needs to happen, you know, because like it makes the trees, I forgot the fucking scientific thing about it, but they need like, naturally you need fires to like clean up the shit, and then like trees grow faster and all this shit, and like
nitrogen in the soil.
Yeah, exactly. Kind of, and like hurricanes happen, coronavirus happens. It's all connected. Like, you know, population control. I don't know. It's like we're cancer, dude. We're like, humans are like cancers to the earth, and sometimes you need something to control that, but. Yeah, even the shit that happened to my life, like bad things that happened to my life, things that I viewed as bad and sad at the time, when there's enough time away from that, I'm like, okay, I'm glad that happened, or else I wouldn't be where I am right now. But at the time, it's like miserable. So everything is like is connected. Everything happens for a reason. Like even bad things that happen in your life, they happen for a reason, and they usually happen for a better reason that you'll figure out later on. It might not be in the moment, but later on you're like, okay, I'm glad that actually that bad thing that happened to me, like my whole life was ruined. That actually was nice, and that's happened to me like a couple times.
Yeah.
And I started over and it felt fine, and I got wiser from it. I took away the lessons, and I just moved on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you believe in a cosmic consciousness, that everybody's consciousness is somehow interconnected, or there's just like one?
I don't know if I believe in that, but I've like very like briefly read some stuff about it. I think like Carl Jung was talking about the collective consciousness, and dude, I got to study more on this because it is an interesting topic. But there's like subconscious, there's like conscious, and there's like collective consciousness, and like that's just a collection of like all your ancestors' consciousness before you, and then like that's what you're encoded with when you're born, and then that's why you like have certain fears or anxiety or like whatever, or knowledge. Do I believe in that? I don't know. I don't know if I do. I can't say I do or don't. I'm open to learning about it, but I can't just say like, yeah, it's real because I experienced it.
You said earlier that you're embracing the idea of reincarnation a little bit more, right? And then like that term that you used earlier to go into like past lives. Yeah, I'm curious just to what brought that up, to open you up to that.
Shit, I actually don't remember.
Yeah.
It might have been just one of my random YouTube watching bins, but I mean, okay, so my mom went to Vietnam, I think like 4 or 5 years ago now.
Oh, returned
with to visit some friends, and she hasn't been back since she was 16, so it's been a while for her. And she went to a psychic, and basically like it was a legit psychic. I'm not gonna like take 30 minutes to explain why, but like she gave her like all these tests and try to trick her on like the psychic was like, oh, like she gave her tests like, hey, how many siblings do I have? And the psychic's like, yeah, 4. And she's like, are you sure? She's like, no, I don't, I have 8. She's like, no, yeah, 4. And she actually does have 4, right? So she tries to like trick her into like thinking, Jesus. Like she'll give her an answer and like, nope, that's wrong, even though it's true. And then she just held her ground. So she was like a legit old lady about to die type of psychic, and you don't pay her money, you just give her a donation. So it's legit. It's not like a business she's running. She's just doing it because.
Yeah.
And then she told me this once. So she told me this one story. Like in my past life, I was some guy. There's not a whole lot of information, but like she just basically told me I was some kid wanting to study Buddhism, and I went into a monastery and just like studied Buddhism and to become a monk. But I guess my sin was I left the temple or the monastery, and I stole the monk's robe, and I just left and gave up because it was like too hard or whatever. That was my past life, and that's what she told me. Like, and my brother has another one, and she has one. So what I have to do in this life to kind of like repent for that is to donate a robe to a monastery, like a monk's robe, to repay for my past life's mistakes or whatever. So she was in Vietnam at the time, and like she was like, hey, do you want to do this? I'm like, yeah. So I just sent her money to buy a robe and then donate it to a monastery, since I couldn't do it myself physically there. I mean, I guess I could do it here too, but there's not a whole lot of like monasteries where I live.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Whoa.
So that kind of like sparked my interest a little bit. I'm like, oh shit, that's interesting.
Yeah.
And then like kind of a couple years later, I kind of stumbled upon it again, and I'm like, oh, okay, this is a past life regression. And that was the term that, I think this guy named Brian, I forgot his last name, Weiss or some shit, used, because he was like psychologist or therapist or something.
Mm-hmm.
And he does the past life regressions on his clients and patients. But anyways, yeah, I just stumble into these like random ass things and dive deep on him a little bit.
Yeah.
So
damn, right on, man.
And I always liked the idea because my whole life I didn't really feel like I had a strong purpose in anything. Like, some people are like, I want to be an astronaut, I want to be a firefighter, like that's all I want to do in life. Like I never had that in life. I never had like I want to be this in life. You know what I mean? So and
none at all.
None at all.
Okay. Yeah, I wanted to ask you that earlier. So there was nothing that was just nothing grabbed you even as a kid, like not even want to be an astronaut or something?
Okay, as a kid, I just felt like I just had to put something down. So I put like an astronaut.
Okay.
When I was fucking like in elementary school because I was interested in space books and stuff. So I want to be an astronaut.
Yeah.
I didn't know how hard it was to be an astronaut.
Yeah.
And then and then I put down, I remember we were doing some exercise in class. They're like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I put like a used car salesman as a kid. And like, and I laugh about it like now because at the time, like, oh yeah, that's cool. That's what my dad does.
Oh, cool.
Right.
Yeah.
And I look up to my dad at the time. And then like as an adult, I'm like, wow, the teacher must have thought I was some fucking idiot. Like, this is what you aspire to be? Some like sleazy ass motherfucker. I didn't know anything at the time.
Yeah.
So other than that, I didn't have any like strong fulfillment or purpose to do anything in my life. I mean, I know I just want to like chill, travel, learn about different cultures and like actually see the world instead of like, going to Europe and like, oh yeah, I want to travel, go to Europe, go to white people's countries. I want to go like everywhere.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think that's what I would want to do, but career-wise, not really. I mean, it would probably have to be something artistic, I think, but to be like fulfilling.
Mm-hmm.
But I still haven't really. I'm still kind of like discovering that right now.
Yeah.
So that's why if I could like tap into my past life regression, I feel like I'll have a deeper sense of like what I'm supposed to do in this life.
Interesting.
Or know myself a little bit better.
I mean, you seem to be doing it already, dude. Like with Jiu-Jitsu, it's like been such a constant in your life, right?
That's the only thing that's probably been something I've been keeping at for 12 years now. And because I usually get bored with something. I'll pick up a hobby, I'll do it for like a little bit, and then I'll get bored of it. Mm-hmm. But Jiu-Jitsu is like, it hasn't gotten boring at all. Mm-hmm. It's a lifetime. It's a lifetime experience. Like you'll never learn everything in Jiu-Jitsu.
Yeah, man. Things change, people change, and that's the fucking world. Like you said earlier, like, we may not even see each other 10 years down the line,
No.
But that's okay too, though. It's like,
yeah,
it's
part of life, man.
Yeah.
I didn't expect the shit that happened in my life to happen, but now I kind of do. Mm-hmm. Now because like shit that, relationship ends,
mm-hmm.
With your friends or your significant other, and you go through enough of that, you're like, okay, this is just a part of life.
Yeah.
This happens. And if it happens again, I'm like, okay, it's like I can't let it ruin my whole fucking life for 2 or 3 years.
Right.
I gotta like, okay, it happens, move on, and just accept it.
Yeah. What is the environment for like dating these days? I have no idea what it's like.
Well, since I'm an Asian male, it's not good.
It's not good. Yeah.
Not good.
Yeah.
But
Slim pickings.
Yeah. If you're white, you're doing great. You're doing great. You're doing fine. You can be like an ugly white dude, and you'll do fine. But Asian people are just like, oh yeah, we don't want that shit.
Because there's like that data, right? That.
Oh yeah.
I mean, the trajectory of the population is decreasing, and reproductive growth is also decreasing, right? Have you seen that?
I've seen that. Are you talking about, well, I know that in certain countries, like Japan, obviously, like they're not having kids, they're not getting married. Even in America, like United States, people or guys are having more anxiety or having more ED, erectile dysfunction, because they're probably looking at porn all day and jerking off 3 times a day. And, obviously that's going to happen. But I thought you were going to say the data on like online dating that like Asian males are like
Oh,
the least desirable.
Is that one of the?
Oh yeah, it is. It's true.
Oh,
I think it
shit.
was done by like, some dating site like OkCupid or some shit.
Yeah.
This was like 5 years ago or something that they did the study, but yeah, Asian guys. So on the male side, it's like Asian guys are the least desirable, and then on the female side, black women are the least desirable.
Okay.
So I actually,
based on what study?
based on like the data they have on their dating app.
Oh,
Yeah.
shit.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
So they're just using their app to put this together, and so I get matched up with like a lot of like African American women because like of course like the two fucking least desirable people get matched up, right? It's not like and whatever, but like so I guess like if I really want to date, I'd have to like do an in-person approach instead of like the online thing. If you're Asian, like it works out fine, because I had an Asian friend and he just like approached women like anywhere, in the park, grocery store, wherever, and then he would get a lot of dates that way, and I just haven't gotten to that level.
Is he your age?
Yes.
Okay.
He's like only 2 weeks younger than me. Yeah, like when I was in my long-term relationship, dating apps weren't a thing.
Yeah.
Right, like they didn't even exist.
Didn't even know what they looked like.
Tinder didn't exist.
Oh yeah.
And then like when I got out of that shit, I'm like, oh damn, this is like the way it is now. I mean, it's efficient, but it's also kind of just it's like too easy for these people that they'll go on a date with you and then like they have another date lined up tomorrow, or like they'll probably go on 2 dates in one day, and like you don't know, like
right.
So yeah.
I remember when I was growing up, it's either America Online or in chat rooms that you'd meet people, girls, or whatever your preference was, and then aside from that, yes, it was meeting the people of the opposite sex in person, right? But that involved like a lot of like catcalling. It involved like just a lot of very awkward, depending on how awkward you were as a person, was the interaction that you would get from the girl. Like, let's say if you're a man, and I imagine now though, especially given the landscape, that I don't know, I just feel like that's less of an accepted thing these days, to go up to somebody at a grocery store and just be like, hey.
I think it's like less accepted in people's mind, but I think women still appreciate that, because I think it's just way too easy for younger people to just like go online and just like swipe right all the time, and I do that all the time too, but you don't see people getting approached in person anymore, and I think if it does happen, I don't think people are weirded out by it. They might be surprised because like they've never had that happen in their life or some shit. But I think it's still a compliment. It's like, hey, like you're attractive enough for me to like have the balls and courage to come up to you as a stranger and now like kind of like have a conversation with you. So, so I don't think it's like looked down upon at all. I think it's actually like encouraged, and it's a rare thing to see these days. And people think I date a lot. I don't date a lot. I don't date at all, actually. Like people think I'm like some player and shit, but I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm actually a very like romantic type of guy.
Old school.
Contrary to popular belief, I'm just like, I just want to
cuddle.
Yeah, cuddle and like do like shit, I guess. I don't know.
But, I mean, based on who though? Who's saying that? Like.
Just random. Like even if I ask you, you didn't even know me. Like you would probably say the same thing.
Of what?
Like this dude fucks. This dude dates a lot.
Okay, yeah. Because you're very blunt. You're very, yeah. But okay, see, this is the type of shit that I'm kind of like unpacking myself right now too. Is that, I mean, how often did you stop doing what you were doing? Let's say, growing up as a teenager or in your 20s, even now, where you're just like, somebody's just like, side busting you and just saying like, oh, why are you doing that? That's gay. Or that's dumb.
Oh, like
that's hella dumb. That's dorky. Why are you doing that? That's dorky. It's just like
someone will say something and then they'll make you stop doing something.
Yes, exactly.
Because it just ruins your self-esteem and shit.
Yeah. So I've been thinking about all those things back in the days. I mean, yeah, right. I was never really bullied, but like people did talk shit. But now I'm just kind of thinking, how much of us are walking around with that type of attitude, and how we carry ourselves and project each other towards people because of that, because of those stigmas. You know what I mean? Like, hey man, there's nothing wrong with like, wanting to just like hang out and cuddle or whatever your thing is, right?
Sure.
But because in our minds it's kind of like this negative connotation of being perceived as, a wuss, or in some circles a pussy, or, depending on the mid-90s slang, gay, or a fag, you're not going to do it, right? And I'm just kind of like, wow, it just makes me think of like trans people or people that just get beat up for no reason, like gay bashing or that kind of shit.
Yeah.
Because people are walking around like with this macho fucking like, oh, I'm not this, I'm not that. Like,
yeah,
but I don't know.
I mean, I've never had I don't think I have an experience where someone thought I did something stupid and then that like changed my perspective on the thing. Like, oh, why are you doing jiu-jitsu?
Yeah.
Why are you like playing with magic tricks and stuff? Like, that's
Magic
stupid.
tricks.
Yeah. Cause I did that when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Like, because especially as an adult, I'm like, okay, like I think everyone else has like a skewed like if you say something that I'm doing is stupid or like it's like or whatever, it's not going to affect what I'm doing because I already think that you're stupid for thinking that's stupid, and I'm like, nah, man,
right.
you don't know yet, so I'm going to keep on doing what I'm doing, because people's opinions are just opinions. They're just they're usually really not that great opinions, anyways.
Yeah.
So if you realize that, then like it's just noise. It's just it's like a dog barking. You don't get mad at a dog barking, right? It's just people are going to do what they do. You just got to accept that.
Unless the dog keeps barking.
Now it gets annoying, but
yeah,
you can kind of just step away from the dog.
Right. Yeah.
Or cook it into like a little stew. You know how Filipinos do?
And Asians, yeah, I've seen it. I guess what I'm trying to figure out is what the landscape is with, people your age these days.
The fuck do I know? Shit.
Yeah. I mean, you say you keep to yourself pretty much. And I remember in our last conversation, it almost made me just like, damn, why am I doing this podcasting shit? It's like, fuck, man, it's so much easier to just like leave people alone and just be left alone in general, right?
It is.
And it really made me think. No, honestly.
What did I say that made you think that?
I just think, yeah, for the most part, people just do want to be left alone and just live their lives. And, here's the thing that made me think. I felt like with doing a podcast like this, and I remember we were talking about like marketing the podcast. It was more like
the job you hate.
throwing ideas into people's faces that don't want to have ideas thrown at them, that kind of thing. Yeah, and I think that's what made me just like, I don't know.
No, I think it's because you're so a podcast is great, and I'm glad you're doing it. It's a creative outlet for you, and it's something you enjoy. And I think I was saying like, yeah, you're struggling with the part, or the part is you feel like you have a duty to spread this episode or podcast or this conversation to as many eyeballs as possible.
Right.
But that's like also the part where it's like, it's not your strong suit. It's not your personality to like just blast this shit in people's faces. And it's not my personality either. I don't like to do that. I forgot what I said actually. But
no, yeah, it was before I even told you that was the struggle. You said that was what you said was that nobody likes. People are going to change because they want to change. People aren't going to change because you're throwing ideas in front of them. But then, that also makes me think of like, if you're open to ideas, which there are people out there open to ideas, then you are willing to change. But for the most part, it just made me think of like, yeah, it would just be so much easier to just like really focus on yourself and not worry about getting ideas out there, which is what this podcast is all about. Also, like expressing yourself, but then again, it's just like, yeah.
I think like, yeah, but I think you should still. I think you still have almost like an obligation to put out the podcast that you're doing.
Right.
It doesn't matter if like 3 or 5 people listen to it, or like 100 people or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Like probably like fucking 3 people are going to listen to this podcast.
Yeah.
Like who the fuck is this guy? But I don't like, to me, like like I told you before, like if I'm doing a podcast, I'm just doing it selfishly for myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, and great, if you want to listen to our conversation, you can. It's like right here. But if you don't, like, I'm not going to be focused on the numbers, because it's more of an art project for myself. And it's like, okay, I'm going to archive these conversations because they're like a little time slot, and they're like a moment in time where I can look back on and revisit and relive the conversation that I had with this person. And I don't really care if like 500 people listen to it or like one person listens to it.
I'm the same.
Don't give a shit. Yeah. This is only for my selfish needs, and I'm living my life the way I want to.
Yeah.
I'm not living on other people's opinions and stuff. Yeah. If I get feedback on people like, hey, you should stop talking so much, or like do this or that, I'm like, okay, I'll get that feedback and maybe implement it, but I'm not here to like impress people.
Yeah.
Because that's what everyone else is trying to do.
Right.
And they see that every fucking minute of the day.
And how does that make you feel?
The what?
Just noticing those types of things.
It doesn't really make me feel a certain way. It just makes me feel it's just like it's natural.
Right.
It's natural.
You know what I remember brought that on? Because I just asked you that question, right?
Yeah.
And I appreciate your insight too. And I remember asking you, don't you want the same understanding that you have for other people? And you were just like, fuck no. Like, fuck everybody. Yeah. I remember that. Or does it make you angry that people don't see it this way? Like, people are just walking around, like, you know, running into each other.
Zombies, yeah.
Like, you know, yeah.
I mean, probably as a kid, as a younger person, yeah, because like you want to change the world and make the world a better place when you're a kid, right? But no, when I you see enough of the same shitty people. They're not even shitty. They're just people. They're just like people being people.
Yeah.
Like if you're gonna like humans are so diverse in the way they think, in the way they live their lives, everything, and you just have to accept that. If you want everyone to be the same, like that's kind of boring.
Well, not in the same way that like you believe the same thing that they believe, but I'm saying like the people that are, because I remember you made such a profound statement about how everybody's just like scrolling and the information in our pockets that, you know, floods us with so much information that like we're not meant to have at one given time. So I was thinking like, okay, here's this guy with all these ideas in his mind that, yeah, you want to take people out of the matrix, but at the same time you want to let those same people be tapped into the matrix.
Well, I'm not like here to change the world. There's plenty of people that's doing that right now, and plenty of people before me that's done that. So like I'm just living my life, right? And there's plenty more people that are qualified that's written the way on how to live a good life. And I think you should study those people, like Stoicism, Buddhism, like pretty much any philosophical intellect. Study those people, and that'll change your perspective. But I'm not here as like a dude preaching my opinions on the world.
Right.
I'm just more of an observer of life.
Yeah.
And that's what I like.
All right.
And then I collect what I think is what I think fits my personality and how I look at the world, and I just kind of and if you ask about it, I'll share it with you. But I'm not like gonna get up on stage and be like teaching a seminar on this shit. I don't. Like, who am I?
Yeah.
I'm still learning shit. Like, I'm still young.
Yeah.
There's so much shit to learn. So that's why I say, like, I don't really give a shit what people think, or, like, I'm not, like, if they think one way, it's like, oh, my God, I have to change your mind immediately on this. Like, no.
Right.
That's very much the Bay Area, though. It's like.
No, I just, you know, in having enough of these conversations, like, you start to hear gripes, right? Like, these are gripes that, or observations, sorry, if we're trying to define what these actually are. But also, if people are going to gripe about it, I just kind of want to know if they do want to change things about it, or if they do want to change the way they see, sorry, I'm blanking on it. If they want to change how other people around them are navigating the world, because, I mean, it's...
Yeah, like I was talking about the Bodhisattva, right?
Right.
The Bodhisattva is the person that seeks enlightenment. They fuck off in the mountain somewhere, and they meditate forever, and they reach this state of enlightenment, and then they have an option of just staying where they are and just being in this enlightened state forever until they go to another world, or they can come back and teach other people, teach ignorant people on how to get to this path, and yeah, I'm like I'm not the like I do like questioning people and like why they think the way they think, you know, but I'm not going to be very confrontational about it, and I'm not going to be like, no, you're wrong, this is right. I just like to ask questions like, oh, why do you think that way? Like, is it because of something in your past or what? And I try to kind of like be a detective about why this person is the way they are and why they think the way they are. They think the way they do. And then once I understand that, I'm like, okay, I get it now. I'm not going to try to change you, but like, I get why you have certain thoughts about certain things, and I accept that.
Right.
And it doesn't make me angry or sad or whatever, but
yeah,
you know, it's just what it is.
Wow.
And I'm sure like you have the same, like, dude, family, right? Like everyone gets pissed off at their family, you know what I mean? Like they think shit they say the way they think. My mom thinks a certain way. I'm like, why do you think that way? And like, you know, and that's probably like the only person that like pisses me off is like my mom. She's like, she has a hard time like putting herself in someone else's shoe. So she would be like, like if she's selling a table or something, she would want like top dollar for it, right? But if she's buying a table, she would want like the lowest fucking price, and like she would like get fucking angry if like the person's not giving her the price that, you know. I'm like, okay, put yourself in that perspective. Like you would do the same exact thing as that person selling that fucking table or whatever, right? She's like, oh yeah, I would. I'm like, yeah, well, try to like remember that.
I guess we're just gonna wrap things up then.
Yeah.
Before we go though, yeah, man, I just wanted to express, even if there was microphones or not, yeah, dude, you're a fucking interesting guy, man. There's one part of you that's like very macho, yet you're like a real, like you could be a feminine looking dude because of how skinny you are, and if we were both in jail together.
How dare you?
If we were both in jail, I mean, people might be more tempted by it, but you're also like, you know, you're a purple belt in Jiu-Jitsu. You do mushrooms. There's like a very artistic side of you too that, you know, you're a tea guy. And I'm just like, yeah, and it made me realize that you can't put people in boxes, as much as that's easy to do.
Yeah.
Right? And so, this is who you are at 30. 10 years from now, when you're listening to this, what do you hope you're doing?
Yeah, probably dead. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm doing. Like, I'd probably be like 5 to 8 years from now, like before I'm 40, I ideally would want to be retired or semi-retired and not have to work unless I want to. And, you know, that's why I'm kind of like the whole pandemic thing, and, you know, I'm working remote and all that stuff. So I don't have to be in one spot. So, but I just decided to go back home for a little bit to Virginia, but that little bit turned into like 2 years almost. So just building up like a real estate portfolio and, getting into that. And then eventually, you know, years down the line, 5-8 years, I would want to just live off of that income and like just travel. So as long as you can cover your expenses, your monthly expenses, which I keep track of, like of everything, and then some, it's like just double or triple that so you have a cushion. And then if you have that income coming in, you don't have to work anymore, technically, unless you want to. And then you can just spend most of your time doing your hobbies and things you enjoy. And then if you get bored, you can go back to work and just do it because you want to, not because you have to, out of survival. Yeah, so that's where I'm probably going to be in 40 or 10 years when I'm 40, but also probably, I'll, hopefully have a black belt at that time.
Yeah.
If I can get someone to give me, but I don't really care about belts, but and I thought about opening up my own gym at one point too. So that might be a thing, maybe not. And yeah, just be more wise, If I can be just like 1% wiser every day and smarter, then I'm doing good. Yeah.
I think you have a very healthy outlook towards life, especially when it comes to the finiteness of everything, especially human beings. But yeah, if you could share some thoughts about death. What is your philosophy of death? What is your do you fear death? Do you think about it?
I don't. Yeah, I think about death a lot, but I don't fear it because, like, I read somewhere, some philosophers like, yeah, it's kind of irrational to fear death because it's going to be the last thing you experience, and after that, it's like there's nothing. But obviously, when you're alive and you're thinking about it all the time, I get why some people just like, fear it. But I think it's just like another door to another thing, like that reincarnation thing we're talking about, the past life regression. It's just like you're going to technically live forever, quote unquote. You're going to just continue on with a different body, a different animal, or whatever. You might not know it, but it's just a continuation of life. Like life and death is pretty much the same thing. Like before you were alive, you were dead, right? And like you're okay with that. So when you die, it's like, okay, you should be okay with it too. And I think people are afraid of death, or they're afraid of other people dying, like their loved ones or friends or whatever, because it's good because they have a good relationship with them and they don't want them. They want to stay. They want like them to live forever, and that's great. But like the reality is, like, everyone dies. Everything dies. Like not everything dies. Even mountains will eventually erode. It might take millions of years, but everything definitely has a shelf life, including the entire universe. So to think like to fear death and to be afraid of it is a little bit it's not really healthy, I guess. Yeah. And you live so because you're so attached to someone, like when I had a girlfriend, right? I was like, damn, and I would think like, damn, if she dies one day, like, what the fuck am I going to do? I'm going to be so devastated. I'm going to be so depressed. I want to kill myself, all that stuff. It's because I'm attached to her so much. Not in a bad way, just like I'm attached to the idea of living this life forever, which is not going to happen because things change all the time and you have to adapt to that. So if you can, like, I'm wearing this necklace actually right now called Memento Mori. It's Latin for remember death, and
I love that. Yeah,
Memento Mori. So it's like a Stoic philosophy that just says, like, you can die at any time. So just remember that you're live in the present, and just remember that you're going to die. Yeah.
Opposite to that, what is prosperity?
What is it to me?
How do you define it?
Oh man, there's so many ways to define prosperity. I mean, but like if you're comfortable living, or if you're comfortable by yourself in solitude, when you're alone, and you're not like, man, it's such a philosophical thing. Like, okay, like I was gonna say, like, if you're not struggling, if you have enough money to like get by, like you're prosperous and you're living a happy life or whatever. But you can also live a happy life with like nothing, and a lot of people do. So it's very hard to define. But for me personally, prosperity is if I don't have to work if I don't want to, and I have good friends around me, good conversation, I'm traveling, I'm seeing the world, I'm seeing different cultures and different perspectives, and I'm not suffering, then that's prosperity to me. Yeah.
All right, last one. I'm thinking about somebody who wants to travel alone or wants to be more comfortable alone, and this person doesn't know how to get there, to that comfort, the solitude that you say you just recently found peace in, right? How do you how do you, if you could create like a blueprint to get to that comfort or to that peace of mind, what is your recommendation for that?
It's funny you say this because I'm going to sell a course for $3,000 about how to be lonely.
All right.
We'll
We'll put that in the show notes once he gets that done.
Okay, so I can't speak for everyone, but like for me, I was kind of forced into doing things on my own. Like I was always a lone wolf when I was a kid, but like I was probably never really that comfortable with it until I was like an adult, I guess. And you know, when I split between my ex, I had to like do everything alone because we're so used to doing everything together. And so you know, I do groceries alone, right? That's like one step. Go to parks alone. Like just get out of your comfort zone. So what I had to do was like, I told myself, okay, this is like uncomfortable, but after I experienced this thing, it actually makes me feel better. So when I went to Japan, so me and my ex were planning a trip to Japan, our second trip, and we already booked our tickets a year in advance. But then we, you know, had that blip where we broke up. So we either had a choice of going together or just not going at all, or you want to go and whatever. So I just said, yeah, I'm just going to go. I'll go alone. But I was scared, you know, like I don't speak the language. Like it's like a whole new world. And like, even though I've been there before, I did it with someone else. So going by myself is like a little bit scary. And I was very reluctant and like resistant to it, but I already paid for the fucking ticket. So I might as well go. And when I got there, I was pretty depressed. I was like, what the fuck am I doing here, dude? Because the places that I went to, like a year before, me and my ex just did this thing, and it just kind of, the memories were just there. And then eventually, it forced me to talk to other people. It forced me to do other things by myself. And I went to a Jiu-Jitsu gym, and they just welcomed me just with open arms, and that really change the perspective I had with the trip, because like they invited me out to lunch, and like I'm like, damn, I'm so glad I do jiu-jitsu and have a community like anywhere I go. Mm-hmm. It's a universal language. It's like, okay, you know jiu-jitsu, like we're doing jiu-jitsu, like we don't have to like know each other's languages to understand that, okay, you're kicking my ass, I'm kicking your ass, whatever. So that was a turning point. And then after that, after the whole Japan trip of traveling solo in Tokyo for a couple of weeks, I felt a lot better. I felt more capable of doing other things, because that was kind of a big thing to do alone. So that was uncomfortable, and I did it, and I got over it. I didn't die. It just made me more resilient, and I started just saying yes to other things that if people asked me to go on to this seminar or go to this workshop or like do something that I would normally say no to, I would just kind of force myself to say, okay, yeah, I'll do it. And you know, even if I don't like it, I'm still going to go and experience something that I would normally say no to. And usually you get something out of it. Even if you do something that you just don't do or don't like, you usually get something out of it that, okay, I'm not going to do this again, or I know I don't like this. So like a couple weeks ago, I just skied for the first time in Tahoe, right? And I thought like it was a work thing, so I thought like more people were going to be there, but it was like only the people that were kind of like hardcore like snowboarders and skiers, and I was like a noob. So they took me on this intermediate route, like the blue line or whatever, and it's my first time, so it's not something that beginners do. You just don't go down this giant hill if it's your first day skiing. But I did it, and I was fucking scared, and I ate shit a few times, but I'm glad I did it. And even though I probably wouldn't do it like right away again, but I'm glad I did it, even though it was scary and I didn't want to do it anymore after a certain point. You know, things like that. You know, I'm just open to even this podcast, I said yes to. I'm like, yeah, sure. You know, if someone's going to ask me to do something and like that I haven't done before, I'll probably say yes, just to get that experience. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what the fuck I'm going to talk about. Who am I? Like on your podcast, like there's going to be 3 people that listen to this, but I don't give a shit. Like I'm just doing it for the experience.
Yeah, man. Yeah, who's going to fucking listen to this?
Yeah.
Well, I can think of a few off the top.
Oh, yeah.
Sure. But yeah, who knows? Who gives a fuck?
I don't. Yeah.
But I think, yeah, man. If somebody eventually does listen to it, yeah, they're gonna hear of your experiences. This guy who's sitting in front of me right now with draped in a, what is that?
I got this in Peru.
Peruvian cloth.
Yeah, it's cold and windy here.
He looks like a tech
shaman.
A tech shaman. But that's Vic. You can't put him in a box. And
have many different forms.
He has many different forms. He's the mushroom, my first mushroom Sherpa, who got me exploring the psychedelic realms. And yeah, that I am very thankful for, and that's why he's here, because he's a fucking interesting dude to me. And
I
so
appreciate
I will
that.
force him down your throats, as he advised not to.
I like it. I like being forced down people's throats. So.
All right, the controversial Vic Jitsu. You have anything to say? Anything else to say to your future self?
To my future self?
I mean, if you're going to be the only one listening to this, let's just say, figuratively.
Oh my God. I think I said enough, but
yeah.
But yeah, just, hope I'm happy, hope I'm still, figure it out. Oh, I mean, in this life, it's always a figuring out process, but, I hope I'm still alive to enjoy it, Hope you're still alive, hope we're still friends, and, every time I come back to the Bay, I'm obviously going to hit you up and we're going to hang out.
Yeah.
And yeah, if you're ever in the East Coast, let me know if I'm still there. So, yeah.
Cool, man. Coming at you live from Tilden Park here in Berkeley, California.
Yep.
All right.
See ya.
Thanks everyone for listening.
Bye-bye.
Please do us a good favor. Give us a good rating on whatever platform you're listening on. Follow us on social media and leave a review, reach out, leave a comment. We're at the Quake City Portal on Instagram, Quake City Portal, at Quake City Portal on Twitter, thequakecityportal.com. The Quake City Portal on YouTube for behind-the-scenes footage, as well as some future cooking content, and as well as video interviews. And I promise those are coming soon. More are coming soon. Also, leave a comment to suggest a guest for the show. And for everybody that's left a comment or a review on Apple iTunes, thank you so much. Thank you to all the people that listen around the world. If you're not a bot or spammer or anybody, it shows on our information feed that we have people from Philippines, we have people from Australia, Norway, all over California, and all over the world. Kind of weird to say. So the 3 to 5 people that are listening to this, thank you very much for spreading the word, and may you all be happy, may you all be healthy, may you all be peaceful, may you all be loved. See you all next time.